Hello, everybody, and welcome back. My name is Rachel.
I'm Hannah, and here's our guest.
I'm Mary.
And this is the You Talkin' to Me podcast. As you can see, we have a very special guest today with us reviewing Because of Winn-Dixie. And I will let Hannah and Mary introduce themselves more.
I am the child of Mary. That's that.
And I am the mother of Hannah.
Yeah. There you go.
Beautiful. All right. So this week, Hannah and her mom read the book, right? And we all watched the movie. And I think I read it in the second grade, but I don't think that counts because I don't remember anything that far back. So this is basically just me watching the movie, them reading the books, and us reviewing them as such to see if it's a good adaptation, to see if it's a good movie in general, how much does it follow the book, etc. So I will let Hannah hit us with the synopsis.
Because of Winn-Dixie is a movie based on the book with the same name. It is told by India Opal, a 10-year-old girl who lives with her father. They just moved to Naomi, Florida. Opal's father is a preacher. Opal spends her time getting to know the town. One day, when she is getting groceries, she finds a stray dog at the supermarket and brings him home. The book and movie tell a lovely tale of not judging people before you know their story and how a furry friend can bring people together.
All right, so y'all read the book. What is your opinion of the book in general? And did you like it? Is this your first time reading it, etc.?
I read the book. I don't think I had read the book before. I had only seen the movie. And I loved the movie and I loved the book. I thought the book was really good. I thought it was well written and it had a lot of insight in it, which maybe you guys will let me talk about later.
I've read the book in second grade, just like Rachel. I think I remembered it a little more than she said she could, but we also saw the movie then. And fun fact, everyone thought that I was in the movie because at the time, Anna Sophia Robb and I looked pretty identical. And so, according to my second grade classroom, I was in the movie. And I was just like, yes. But I think the movie and book are both really good. I think that, there's some differences we can talk about throughout this podcast, but for the most part, it's pretty much, it's the same story. And I definitely think that I would recommend this and I would read/watch the movie again. What was your thought, or what were your thoughts on it, Rachel?
Well, first, I just want to say watching this, Hannah had already told me that her class thought that she was in it. And the whole time I was like, that looks like Hannah. I didn't even know Hannah in the second grade. And I was like, that's 100% her. There's no way that's Anna Sophia Robb. That's her. She's lying to us and everything. So I thought that was so funny. That's all I could see the whole time watching this movie. Also, the haircut kind of almost matches now with how Hannah's hair is. It's a little bit longer than Hannah's is, but I loved the movie. I thought it was so cute. It was such a good acting job by all of the children involved. It wasn't anything that you'd expect. I feel just as the movie went on, I didn't see a lot of it coming, even though I'd already seen it, I'm pretty sure, as a kid as well. But it just everything about it was really good, except I liked the narration, but I didn't like it at the very beginning because it gave away the scene that comes later when she finds the list on the fridge. And I'm like, we didn't need the narration saying, the day that my dad told me to go get 2 tomatoes and white rice or whatever is the day that changed my life forever, but I'm getting ahead of myself, whatever. It ruins it for later because the camera's on it long enough for you to see the list. She goes to the store. It played out exactly like she said, and I thought it was repetitive. But other than that, I love the narration because it wasn't just some stupid tool that they used for 5 minutes. Oh my gosh, everyone go to the video right now. go to YouTube and look at the picture, and then if you saw Because of Winn-Dixie, I can't even tell if Hannah's holding up a picture of herself or Anna Sophia Robb, so they're identical. But this was one of the few movies that actually use narration well.
I just wanted to say one thing in the movie when Opal and the preacher, her dad, are sitting on the couch during the storm, and Winn-Dixie is going back and forth and back and forth. We actually saw the movie the first time in the movie theater, and then I watched it again, and then I remembered when I watched it now. But when Opal and her dad are sitting on the couch, and Opal is sitting there with her big t-shirt and her knees up under her t-shirt, we were like, oh my gosh, that is Hannah and her dad. That was Hannah. It looked exactly, especially, I mean, she did throughout the movie, but especially in that scene when she's sitting there in her big oversized t-shirt, because that's what Hannah used to do when she was little too. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Okay.
Hannah, just embrace it. Your mom's going to talk about you because we just watched you for 2 hours on the movie, so.
I'm not going to say anything else about her.
All right, so was there anything that you disliked about the movie? Any differences that you were upset weren't in it? Anything like that?
There was one difference that was in the movie that wasn't in the book.
There's more than one, actually.
But one that I think is very clear is the guy who ran the trailer court, or the place where they lived. He wasn't in the book.
Yeah, so that guy wasn't in the book. Mr. Alfred was not in the book. I do think that he adds to the story some. The one big difference that I thought was from the book to the movie that I don't see a point to. They probably thought that it was humorous. I don't have that sense of humor, is the cop. I didn't think anything he ever did was funny. I was like, this is literally the stupidest thing I've seen. Okay, maybe in my 8-year-old years I suppose you only have one of them. When we watched that in 2nd grade, maybe I found that hilarious. I don't know. All I know is I thought it was very dumb now.
Yeah, the cop was dumb, but I just thought that was funny that they would like go that route, that he was like a bad guy and like hated this man just because he like used to be a criminal, and he's like not anymore though. Like, I can understand him being worried for the child, but I mean, he like has proven himself to be like fine since he got out, and like it seems like people treat criminals very poorly when they come out of jail and stuff like that, because it's like you can't just make one mistake, but that's how it is in a lot of places. And I thought he was good in the sense, the cop was good, not his sense of humor, but like he was good to put there because it like placed judgment on him, because Opal obviously didn't judge him, and then it like taught the audience like, oh yeah, even though he did a bad thing, like he's not a bad person. So I thought the cop in general, like hating him was a good addition, but he was like so weirdly goofy and like a caricature and like not a real person, it felt like.
Yes, I would agree with that. And when you were talking, I just remembered a fun fact, I guess, that randomly in high school, I had this group of friends. Well, it was just specifically these 2 girls that I was friends with, and we all had nicknames for each other. And it doesn't matter what their nicknames were, but for some reason mine was Opal. So I guess that's just another connection to this story, is that I was known as Opal to those friends in high school.
Were there any other differences that you noticed, or anything that you thought because it was a movie they missed out on, because like the book, as Mary said, was very insightful and like talked about a lot of things, and I could see them trying to get to some things with the narration, like, oh, the preacher sits there in his turtle shell and like kind of was describing that in the narration, and I thought that was probably why they use narration, because the whole book is in Opal's head, isn't it? So is there anything that the movie kind of missed out on because it was a movie?
I thought it did a pretty good job, but there are more differences where in the book, the preacher does not come to the party. And I think that that was a really big difference. And it might have had a different impact on readers or moviegoers, because in the movie, the preacher does come to the party. So that sort of shows a different side of him. So that I think is a big difference.
Right, and since he doesn't go, Mr. Alfred goes to the party though, and then in the book it would be the preacher blessing the party, but in the movie it was Gloria. So that was a difference that happened.
And with Alfred going to the party, you sort of saw a little glimmer of attraction between him and what was her name?
Miss Franny.
Yes. And so I thought that I kind of liked that in the movie, and that was not in the book. And I liked it just because she was so lonely.
Well, and I thought it was cute. So it wasn't explicit at all. Like they didn't like hold hands or anything or kiss or anything in the movie. So it's like really up for interpretation. But I did also like that Miss Franny like didn't have children and didn't have a husband or anything, because it does show like you don't need that to like be a successful woman and like to be happy as a woman and stuff like that. Which again, like this book and this movie, like I don't know, I just feel like they take place in the South, and like you'd think there'd be a lot of traditional things in it, but they like divert from traditions a lot, which I did like by having this woman who wasn't married or had kids, and they don't dwell on it being like, oh, that's so sad, like she kind of is like, oh, like, you know, and she's like, I have my books, you know, she has her own thing that makes her happy and she feels fulfilled. And it is cute that like there might be this glimmer of attraction in it, but I do like that it wasn't explicit. It kind of gives you what you want it to be. What do you want to happen?
I did not necessarily like that there was that between them, because how you said she's like this strong, independent woman. She doesn't need someone. Like, look at her. She's successful. I was like, okay, well, you literally just wiped the floor with that, because you're making her like be attracted to someone. I'm not saying she can't be attracted to someone, but I was like, nope, you're going to make it seem like, oh, she needs this man in her life to be whole, after they had said the story of like, oh, I never married someone. That was my take on that. So different than both of you, but that is truly how I felt. I was like, no, it's just like any other story when at the end the girl has to get the guy or whatever, or like the guy has to save the girl. Like, it's just like, no, you don't need to add that in there. So I liked that in the book better, that she was just who she was. She was alone. You don't always need to end up with someone. A difference also that I guess you've already talked about, you didn't like the narration, how it foreshadowed what was going to be happening at the grocery store. In the book, you start at the grocery store.
I think you should just start either there or start with her getting the list or something. Even, okay, I understand you need some opening stuff so the credits can roll. You need to show, oh, this is what the town looks like. I liked all the establishing shots to show you like how small this is, how she lives basically alone because the preacher's always gone or whatever, and she like has to deal with stuff herself. I don't mind her biking through the town to the grocery store or to her home and then to the grocery store or whatever. I don't mind that. But the foreshadowing was too much. I was like, it literally happens in 2 minutes. Just get there. So that's why I didn't like it. So I think it's better that it starts at the grocery store, which is interesting because that means like the inciting incident is literally like within the first couple of pages of the book, which is very unusual. Whereas in movies, especially, it happens like within the first 15 to 20 minutes, and not just like bam, starts with it. Going back to Miss Franny and Mr. Alfred, though, I don't think it wiped her clean of like being a strong, independent woman, because it doesn't show her needing Mr. Alfred. She doesn't ever dwell on the fact that she doesn't have a man, but the fact that like maybe there was a man that she does happen to maybe think is cute does not mean that she is not happy being single. Like, she could think he's cute. She could maybe even have a very good male companion. Even if they start dating, I don't think it takes away anything, because they don't ever bring it up. They show it for 2 seconds that, like, oh, there's like a little eye contact here, and they walk into the party together, but that is like it. They don't ever show her being like, I wish I had a husband, or like sad or anything. She's happy, she's lovely, she's scared of a bear, but that's like literally it, like her only like negative emotion.
That man is a bear, so she should be scared of him too.
No, Rachel, I agree with you, because it doesn't take anything away from her being independent. I think it shows her seeing someone who is more her age that could be a friend. And that's the one thing that she's missing, are friends her age. And so I see it as her seeing, oh, there's someone who's my age who could be a friend. And so I think it's awesome. Sorry, Hannah.
We can agree to disagree on
Yes,
this,
we
because
can.
I will dispute that fact all day long.
Okay. And I have way too many other things I want to say, so we won't just dispute this anymore. Not about that, I don't. Okay.
All right, here's one thing I do want to say. Here's my hot take, is that this movie is a Christian movie without it shoving it down your throat, without it trying to convert you, without it trying to convert anyone in the film. Like, I thought they did a very good job. Like, it literally centering around a preacher's daughter, one, without any gross stereotypes about preacher's daughters. You know, I know she's like 8 or 10 or something, but like in general, that like movie trope about them always being like promiscuous and stuff, I'm glad they didn't do anything with that. Also, like, yes, there's prayer in the film, yes, there's church service in the film, but like, they don't try to be like, oh, you're not a Christian, we're gonna convert you. They don't make it all about, you know, religion or anything throughout the film. Religion isn't even like the big theme of it or anything. It's just part of these people's lives, especially in a small town. Like, church is a very big part of it, and they did not make it weird or anything, because like, even if someone at that party didn't believe in God, like, the fact that they prayed isn't even a big deal, because like, if you go to somebody's house, someone invites you to their house for Christmas or Thanksgiving or even just for dinner, and they want to pray before dinner, like, the polite thing is just to like close your eyes and just sit there silently. But like, it would show, like, because it's Opal's party, so like, they want to have the prayer and everything. But like, let's say, you know, I hosted a party and you showed up and you're like, we're going to pray before dinner. And I'm like, that's not what I want to do. You know, then it would be a whole different message. But I thought they did a very good job towing the line of just it being part of their lives without it forcing it to be part of your lives. I don't know. What do you guys think about the religion aspect of the film?
Well, this is going to be interesting to talk about. So just so y'all know, my mom is a religious person. You would say that, correct?
Yes.
And I am not. I don't follow a religion. I don't believe in the religious. I mean, people have religion. I think that's great. I think that you should believe in whatever you want to believe in. But my mom and I are very polar opposites on this. So I want to hear your thoughts, and I'll tell you mine.
It's interesting, because when you said that this is a religious movie, I went, it was, because I never even looked at it as though it was a religious movie. To me, it just was part of their life and what they did, and it was a part of just the story. So I never even looked at it that way. I looked at it more as, and just like I do anytime I read a book or watch a movie, I look for any kinds of lessons I can learn. I look at it more from an interpersonal perspective, because that's what I used to teach. And so that's how I look at things, is from an interpersonal perspective. And I just looked at it as how people were getting along and how things happen. So I didn't even see it as a religious movie. So yeah, it'll be interesting to hear what Hannah has to say.
I saw it as a religious movie, but to me, like Rachel said, it wasn't forceful or pushful. I think that they covered some good aspects, and like, I'm not like, oh my God, religious people are the worst ever. You know, I do believe there are people who are religious that are maybe follow some things that I don't believe in, which is fine. I mean, whatever. But I think some people can be kind of hateful. I believe that in this movie, it was very neutral, and they probably purposely didn't get into like certain aspects of the religion. But I actually like how at the end, when they're at the party, they have, instead of just singing random songs, they're singing, are those called hymns?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I do like the whole aspect of church. Like, you know, there's the community, there's, you follow these certain songs, and, you know, everyone's like reading this common book, or you believe in this same common thing that brings you together. And I liked the aspect of the hymns being sung at this party, and they were like fun hymns, like, oh, you know, we can do this and we don't have to be in church, it's just a song. I liked that. But I can't say that it felt too religious or not religious enough. You know, it just like, kind of like my mom said, it is just part of their life.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree. And I also love the callback of the him, you know, the dog was howling to it at the beginning, and then when Dixie's howling at it at the end. Like, I thought that was a really good callback. I don't know if that happens in the book, but it was wonderful in the movie, and I love a good callback.
I'm surprised that you and I were so similar on our thoughts about the religious part of the movie, but that's cool.
I think that, you know, if it took a different turn, we would have had very different views on it. But I think
Maybe.
that the way they portrayed it was good. And just because I'm not religious doesn't mean, like I already said, like I don't have a problem with religion. I find it interesting. It's more of like a history book aspect to me. Like, I want to go look at the churches to see the architecture, and I find it interesting what the people believe in. I just don't believe in it for myself, and that's fine by me, as long as you're fine with that too. The one thing that was different about the party from the book that I actually don't like the difference is that when they find Winn-Dixie at the end, he comes from outside when he's found. And I love in the book that he's been hiding under Gloria's bed, and he comes out and he's all dusty.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute. I definitely don't remember that at all when I read the book as a kid. So I think that's super cute. And that's actually really funny that like he was inside the whole time. And did they go out like hunting for him too, and he's like been inside this whole time?
Yeah, because it's kind of the same thing where, so they've been out hunting and whatever, and then they like give up and go back to Gloria's house, they being Opal and her dad, and then they start singing. And all of a sudden, when they're singing, they hear the "Arr!" Or maybe it's a chew, and he sneezes because he's so happy. I can't remember, but I guess we haven't touched on this. Winn-Dixie is a dog who, he smiles and then he sneezes because he's very excited. And so either he's sneezing at the end because he loves the song so much, or he's howling because he loves the song so much. And then they're like, Winn-Dixie, and then he comes out from under the bed and he's all covered in dust.
So here's a story device that I thought was really weird in the movie, was the lozenges. I thought that was really weird because, and I didn't understand it. Like I understood it, but it was like such a random turn to like make people like realize that they all go through something and they all have like sadness in their lives, even like the bad people or the good people, the people who are always happy, etc. I thought that was weird. I thought it was a cute little fact that like the lozenge factory was like this big thing and now it's gone and she has a couple left. But the fact that like Opal goes around and like gives it to everyone and everyone can taste the sadness because they've all been through it was weird. What do y'all think about this?
I actually thought that was one of the best parts of the book. And I'll explain why. And this is from my interpersonal communication perspective. Okay, so litmus lozenges, he made them because of the war. Like it was great because the war was over, but it was sad of all the death and things that had happened. So he made these lozenges that people could taste.
Well, specifically for the loss in his family, though.
Right, but for other people too, to have this. And so when they tasted them, anyone, they would taste the sweet, and then it would be a sadness, or as preacher called it, a melancholy. And then they would bring up what it was that was making them sad or melancholy. And what I liked about it is they actually went through, and I have a list of what different people thought. Opal, when she ate one, she thought of her mom. That was her sadness. The preacher thought of his wife, of course. Gloria Dump thought about people leaving, and that's something that they never really go into in the book with her, about who left her, but or in the movie she talked, that was her sadness, was people leaving her. Otis, his sadness was being in jail. Amanda, her sadness was Carson, that her brother died, and we wouldn't have come to that at all, and Opal wouldn't have understood anything about Amanda if she wouldn't have heard or had the litmus lozenge. And then Sweetie Pie, her sadness, and I think this was only, it was either only in the movie or the book, but her sadness was
both.
that she didn't have a dog. So
She said it in both.
okay, this ties in to me for one of the quotes that I used to use in interpersonal communication that I loved more than anything was, be kinder than necessary, for everyone you meet is fighting some kind of battle. And to me, that's what the litmus lozenge did. It was a litmus test for each person to see what their sadness was, or what their burden was that they were carrying. And it was a way to get to know them and to understand them and to see where they were coming from. So that's my take on the litmus lozenge, and I liked it a lot. Sorry, Rachel, but I really liked it.
Wow, we're going to be agreeing twice in this podcast. Who would have guessed?
Oh my gosh.
I like the litmus lozenge too, because I believe it really shows how you never know what someone's gone through or what they're going through. Just like with mental health, like someone could be looking like they're having the best time ever and they go home and they're questioning if they should take their life. Like that's just, you don't know what someone's going through. You can put up this front. And so also, like, for example, Opal was saying how Amanda is so pinch-faced, and she's like, well, why is she like that? Like, maybe she's just being snotty. Well, she literally lost her brother. Like, that's the reason why she's the way she is. And I like this quote from the movie. It was not in the book, but Opal in the movie says, I thought about how life was like a litmus lozenge, how the sweet and the sad were all mixed up together, and how hard it was to separate them out. And I think that that's true, because a lot of times people think like, oh, if you're happy, you're happy. If you're sad, you're sad, and you can't have those mixed together. But life is just not so linear. It's ups and downs, hills and valleys, and you can't have the highs without the lows without the highs. And I just like that. I like that quote.
I love that quote. So I'm not complaining about like how she like found out about everyone's sadness. I just thought it was weird that it was because of the lozenge that she like found out about it, rather than like all on her own devices. Like I thought maybe she could have like learned some sort of lesson from either Gloria Dump or from, you know, Otis or from Miss Franny, that really was like, I need to start giving these people a chance. And she does with the candy she gives, or even Winn-Dixie, you know, Winn-Dixie's like kind of pushing her to do some of this too, where she gives them the lozenge. That's like on her own devices, because she's trying to reach out and be a good person and like not be judging these people so much, because she complains this whole time how she doesn't have a friend. But then you realize like it's part of it is because she's been judging these people without really realizing that she's like been judging them. And so when she opens up herself through the help of Winn-Dixie, who gives her people who help her open up to more people, she realizes like all these people are good in their own ways. They just have like trauma or sadness themselves. But I just thought the idea of the litmus lozenge was a weird story device in general, just like that. And then you said she was giving people a litmus test. Is that a thing? Like, is that an actual thing? What is that?
Yes, that is an actual thing. It's something that they've said through the years about a litmus test, is sort of like where it's a test where Actually, it's a political thing, and I don't want to get into that, but it's to see how a candidate would be. But so it's sort of like testing someone or something to see where it would be coming from, what's its background or something like that. So yes, the litmus test is a real thing. So I think that the author actually used that term because it is an actual thing. So I think she used that terminology on purpose to signify that it is like a test to everybody to see what they would show their true color. But I agree with you. Having a candy that could be sweet and make you feel something is, I agree that that is sort of above reality. Like, I don't know that they could actually make something that was like that, but it's a book, hey? And so, but I agree that it is a little bit of a stretch.
One thing I appreciated that was different from the book to the movie is that when Otis is playing music, all the animals were supposed to be like sitting out on the floor and enjoying the music, and a few of them were supposed to be snakes. So I was happy that I didn't have to see the presence of snakes in the movie. But that's just me and being scared of snakes.
Yeah, I was shocked there was a monkey in there because, like, what small town person is going to be buying a monkey? But other than that, I was like, this is a very thriving pet store for like a town with like 2,000 people or less in it.
And so that we touch on this fact, it was filmed in Louisiana, not in Florida, and Naomi is a fake place. So if y'all want to go to Naomi, Florida, sorry to break your dreams, but that is not a real place.
And maybe you're getting to this, so maybe I'm jumping ahead, but the title of the book comes from a phrase that Opal has in the book, so the book and the movie are both from the title. And she actually says, almost everything good that happened to me that summer happened because of Winn-Dixie. And I always like that when I find the title of the book somewhere in the book, because then I know exactly where it came from. And so I just think that that's really cool that it comes from a phrase that she had in the book.
I always love when a movie or a book, especially like has a really weird title. Like I read a book called Turtles All the Way Down by John Green, and I was like, I need to know why it's called this, because it was not obvious. Like there's no possible reason that you would, as you're reading the book, know where the heck this is coming from. And it's based on this like concept that like the earth is like on a turtle's back or something, and that turtle's on another back, and they're like, where do the turtles end? So it's just turtles all the way down. Sorry for anyone that I just spoiled that for you, but whatever. But I just love, as you said, like finding out, especially if there's a really weird title for a book or a movie, where that comes from.
I was just gonna say, I recently had that happen with a book called Where the Crawdads Sing, and it was like 20 pages to the end, I swear, and I was like, that's got it.
You gotta say the title in the book or the movie, or I'm not gonna be satisfied. Like whenever I'm watching a movie with my boyfriend's family, we always like snap when they get to the title of the movie within it. So I really like that.
Did you have anything that you really did not like from the movie at all, Rachel?
Two things. One of them's kind of minor, and it's when the twins or the brothers are picking on Opal, and she like brings that up to Gloria Dump, and she's like, I think they like you. I'm like, no, I don't care if they do like you. Stop teaching little girls that. I'm gonna beat you up if you keep saying things like this. I hated that. I hate when people do that. Oh, they're picking on you because they like you. Well, you know what? That perpetuates abuse in relationships that later on, and girls aren't going to understand that it's because that they are just actually trash human beings. But I'm not saying these boys are trash human beings. I'm just saying that shouldn't have been a line, because it didn't really matter, because they didn't date in the book or in the movie. So I don't really understand why that was there.
The one boy does have a crush on Opal, though.
Yeah, but they didn't like make it a big thing, like in the movie at least. So, and then you can kind of see it where he's like, stop being so mean to her, which was good. That's the good part. You know, the one that is the crush in the movie was like, stop being mean to her. But that's one thing that I was like, no, stop it. And then another thing, I don't know how to bring it up, but okay, they say that Gloria Dump's house, that's the witch's house and everything. She's scary. You don't want to go talk to her. And then she also just like kind of happens to be the only person of color in this whole town. So I kind of feel like that the reason people are scared of her, yes, could be because she's blind and that's like kind of creepy to like kids, or that she has this whole tree of like bottles and stuff and it could make a really weird sound. But also I can't help but notice that she also was a Black woman, and in the South that's not a very good connotation of like the scary person is the person of color. So I don't know what they were going. I know they redeemed her. She's not scary. She's a wonderful human being. They have a party at her house and stuff. And maybe that was the message of like, don't be scared of people based on appearances. But I could not like not notice. So I want to know if you guys like noticed anything about that, or if I'm just the only person who saw that.
No, I definitely noticed that. I was like, excuse me, why is she the only person of color and why are you scared of her? And then, especially if you thought it was like the witch's house or something, you'd think she'd be living in this shambly shack that was like falling over. And her house was very nice. And like, of course, at first they had to clean up some stuff, whatever. But like when they had the party there, like it's a nice house. And when they had that shot from the outside, I was like, hello, like you're not just scared of someone who lives in a house like that. Like I agree that, okay, sure, it could have been because she's blind or because she has this tree with literally hundreds of bottles of booze that are empty. Sure, that could be the fact, but I was like, this is too coincidental to not be something. I don't know. I was like,
Okay, and I saw that totally, that never even entered my head, because when I grew up, there was a house right next to us, and the man who lived there was sort of a recluse. And like with Gloria, she was kind of a recluse because she was blind and wasn't able to get out. But the guy who lived next door to us, we called it the witch's house, even though it was a haunted house, because he was a recluse. And that was the only reason. It didn't have anything to do with who he was, just because he was a recluse. And so was Gloria. So I guess I saw it from my background, from my perspective, where we used to go, ooh, that's the haunted house. We used to go up to his gate and everything and look through the leaves through the gate. And we used to do all those same kind of things that the kids did. And we'd go, oh, this is the haunted house. Stay away from the haunted house. And so I saw it from that perspective, but I appreciate your guys' perspective of, because I didn't actually realize that she was the only Black person in town. I didn't see that.
it's very apparent. There's just one of them.
There weren't any others at church or anywhere?
I don't think so. I didn't see any. And I think the reason like it's hard for you to see like that she was the only like Black person in the town was because she was never like in the group and like sticking out, you know? She wasn't at church with everybody. So I think because we only saw her one-on-one or separate, like you probably just like didn't notice. So like that makes sense. Like completely. I also like I wonder if her race had anything to do with her being a recluse in this town at all. I don't know anything about that either, and I didn't read the book either. Like, was she a Black woman in the book specifically, or was she just a recluse?
She was Black. I don't know if it said it first or you could tell by the way it was written how she talks. But I'm pretty sure they did say something along the lines of with her brown skin.
And
I remember. I do remember though, it was apparent that she was not white in the book. So it was made a point that there was one non-white person, which is just so dumb. Like, come on, people, let's get more people of color and all different ethnicities in things. Obviously, this was written a while ago. Hopefully, things would be more progressive now.
Can we talk about her bottles? Can I go there? Okay, and so to me, this in the book, it sort of has two stories about people who have issues with alcohol. And they show Opal's mom, who chose to continue to drink and to leave and to just run away from all responsibility and everything. And then it shows Gloria, who made to me, it was a beautiful music from these bottles that she had put up, and she quit and she's got a beautiful life actually. And so to me, it showed the dichotomy of the two options of continuing down the road, where Opal's mom lost out on a husband who loved her and a daughter who loved her, and she lost out on that family because she chose to continue to drink. And then it shows Gloria, who made beautiful music, so to speak, from hers. So I thought that that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and that's the one part that I specifically remember from the book. Because I do know that I did read the book, because we did the thing where we read it and then saw it in theaters as a class, which I'm guessing is also how Hannah watched it for the first time. And I very specifically remember the tree with all the bottles, and then I'd like kind of forgotten about it when I was watching it again just now. And then when it came up, it was like this instant flash of memory. And I love that it's like she took what was controlling her and like controlled it kind of, and like made something else out of it, and isn't hiding from it either. Like it's very apparent, like this is part of me, it will always be part of me, I have to stay away from this, but I'm not going to let it like control me anymore where I have to hide from it or anything. So I really love the tree and whatnot. I do wonder though, in the movie, it did not make sense how Opal came to the conclusion that her mom was an alcoholic. It just kind of seemed like, oh, Gloria Dump is, and it hurts people and like can make people leave or something, like, but they didn't really say it that explicitly in the movie, which I'm guessing is how she came to the conclusion in the book, or to why her mom was an alcoholic. But it wasn't that strong in the movie. For it was like, oh, I now know an alcoholic, that's why my mom left. You know, that's how it kind of pieced together in the movie. It was very quick, them trying to like get into it, that's why her mother left.
Yeah, in the book, so Opal asked for the 10 reasons or 10 facts about her mom. And the preacher in the movie says 9 things, and he's like, oh, well, like, that's enough. We'll talk about the other one a different time. And in the movie, it's like, oh, is the 10th thing that my mom has an issue with alcohol, or my mom drinks, or however she said it. And in the book, he just addresses it right away, as far as I remember.
I know there was a difference between the two, and I can't remember which one did it, but is it in the book that he lists the 10th thing right away?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
He definitely lists the 10th thing right away in the book. I just don't remember how he states it, that, and I don't think it is the 10th thing. I think it's like number 7, like it's random, like he just kind of threw it in there.
Number 9 was in the book, was that she drank and caused fights with Daddy, and that's how Opal remembers it. And then the last thing, number 10 on the list in the book, was that she loved Opal. So yeah, the drinking in the book was number 9.
Yeah, so in the book, I thought that they introduced it better, because then she like understands and is like, oh yeah, like I remember these things happening, and then Gloria has an issue, but she's, you know, treating it differently than my mom did. Which, it's funny now for me to go through that experience, reading that and seeing that, because I'm a person who struggles with, or, you know, has struggled with alcohol issues. And so like I could have gone down 2 different roads too. Like I could have been like the mom, I could have been like Gloria. And for me at this moment in my life, hopefully forever, I'm more like Gloria, where, you know, I'm like, yes, it is a part of my experience. I've struggled with this. I know that it is, but I don't need to hide from it. Like I don't need to be shameful of it. I just need to be aware and do the best that I can and move forward with my life without alcohol.
Same for me. I chose many years ago to not drink because I didn't like myself when I drank, and I can't imagine ever having been a parent if I would have still been drinking. So yeah.
I think you both made a very wonderful decision, because y'all have very great lives, and I have very great friends because of it. Was there any other things you wanted to talk about the book, or any fun facts or anything?
Friends can be any age. They don't have to just be your own age. Friends can be any age. And Opal had like a beautiful bouquet of friends. that were all different ages, and I love that.
And it wasn't ever weird. Like, I was never concerned for her or anything. I know she's a child, and that can be an issue, like, if your child has adult friends. But I don't think that there was an issue at all with these people. So I agree. I thought it was wonderful. I mean, if anyone ever has had like a retail or restaurant job or anything, you know that your friends can be any age, because I'm over here like I was 18 having like a 40-year-old best friend at work. Like, it's so funny, just like things like that. So, and then my last thing is, I do have one fun fact, is that this was a star-studded cast. Okay, like, we had Dave Matthews from the Dave Matthews Band playing Otis, who's like an actual musician and actually very talented. We had Elle Fanning in like one of her first ever performances. I feel like when I saw her name, I was like, where? If she's not Opal, who is she? Like, how old is she in this movie? And she was little sweetie pie. Anna Sophia Robb, who is like a huge actress. She hasn't been in like a whole lot of stuff recently, but she was all over the place after this movie. Cicely Tyson is really famous. I'm not sure what for. Like, I don't personally know her that much, but she just recently died, I think, in the last 2 years too, which is very sad. And Jeff Daniels, who plays the preacher, he was in Dumb and Dumber and like a bunch of other stuff, but like that's what I was like, where do I know this guy from? And it's from like the stupidest movie you could ever think, and he's like this very serious, honest character, like with good flaws and like a dramatic performance. I was like, who is Jeff Daniels? How does he do this? He is one of the few actors that can do that. I was like amazed. So very great cast. The casting director was fabulous for this. So
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess I didn't know where he came from either, but now I know it was Dumb and Dumber.
all right, so we just want to thank our guest one last time. Thank you, Mary, for coming on, the mother of Hannah. And with that, I'm Rachel.
I'm Hannah.
And I'm Mary.
And this was the You Talking to Me podcast. Bye.
Bye.